Morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Priyanka. With the blessings of the Almighty and His Holiness Jagadguru Sri Shivaratri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji, a very warm welcome to all gathered here. Let's start this program with virtual lighting of the lamp. Over to Dr. Sumukh.
Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Vidyarambham karishyami siddhirbhavatu me sada siddhirbhavatu me sada siddhirbhavatu me
Thank you, Dr. Sumukh. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome you all to the first JSS OOO Symposium, Integrated Approach to Patient Care. To know more about this program, I invite Dr. Karthikeya Patil, Professor and Head, Department of Oral Medicine and Radiology, to give the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. With the blessings of His Holiness, I welcome Dr. Kushalappa PA, our chief guest. In spite of his busy schedule, he always is motivating and encouraging for us. And I welcome our panelists, Dr. Ram Narayan BK, Dr. Santosh Rao, Dr. Shashidhar R. And Dr. TV Narayan is the moderator of this symposium today. And the judges from oral medicine are Dr. Tarun Vyas, Dr. Srikanth HS, Dr. Shilpa PS. I welcome you all. Judges from oral surgery, Dr. Dinesh Jawar, Dr. Sejal KM, Dr. Rajnikant BR, and judges from oral pathology, Dr. Sudhindra Babu, Dr. Shweta P, Dr. Maya Ramesh, finally, Dr. Radhika B. I welcome you all. I welcome all the participants as well as the delegates. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Today's chief guest is Dr. Kushalappa, Director Academics, JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research. Sir has always been a great motivator to all of us. He's ever smiling and ever ready to oblige us. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. I request you to address the gathering.
Thank you, Priyanka. Seeking the blessings of His Holiness Swamiji for success of all our endeavors, and thanking the organizing committee for having invited me to the symposium. It's wonderful to be presiding over a symposium which has an integrated approach. The oral medicine, oral surgery, and oral pathology, they call it the triple O. And normally the O levels are given for the outstanding performers. It's higher than the A. So I give them a O level for having thought of this symposium. And we have seen the growth of the dental college from the time I have been associated over here at the university with them. And I'm so proud to say that they have broken into the top 10. They are hovering around the 10th place. 12th. They are close to the coming into the top 10 in the country. And I'm very, very happy about that. And the integrated approach to any problem in any field of medicine or health related field is a wonderful idea. And it's kudos to the dental college for having thought of it the first and initiating such a program, because we always believe in the integrated approach to any problem in medicine. And with this, I think there are a lot of the outsiders from what the vice principal just told me. There are a lot of the audience who have joined us from elsewhere. And to all of you, I wish you a very warm welcome from the university on behalf of my Pro-Chancellor, my Vice-Chancellor, my Registrar, and of course, we seek the blessings of His Holiness Swamiji on all of you. And have a wonderful day of deliberations today. I believe there's a panel discussion and presentations. And Dr. Karthik has already welcomed all the resource persons and panelists and moderators. I again, on behalf of the university, welcome all of you. And I wish the program a huge success, and I thank the organizers again. And it was really wonderful yesterday to see the husband and wife walking around inviting everyone. It was nice to see. Anyway, I don't have this luxury since my wife is not a doctor. So anyway, it was nice to see a husband and wife walking around and inviting everybody. So congratulations, and Allah, thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. You've always encouraged us to do better every time. I now request Dr. Chandrasekhar, Vice Principal, JSS Dental College and Hospital, to address the gathering.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I again extend a warm welcome to all the delegates on behalf of the institution. And this symposium, Triple O Symposium on integrated patient care, actually is a need of the hour. Like whether we like it or we don't like it, probably in future when even the Dental Council of India comes with like competency-based curriculum, integrated approach in patient care will be the norm. So it's good that you initiated this process right now. Actually, what I request from the organizers here is like you have seen how the clinic or hospital is functioning now. And at the end of this symposium, if you can give us a document, like just like a resolution of this symposium, suggesting us the strategies, how the hospital can adopt integrated approach in patient care to enhance the quality of service what we are delivering now. So that will definitely put your thought into practice. And that is what we ultimately expect. What we deliberate upon, what we think about should ultimately get translated into practice to benefit the patients. So I expect the organizing team to give us a resolution so that we can adopt what you suggest as strategies and put it into practice for benefiting the patients. Thank you very much, and all the best for a like good thought-provoking symposium what you have chosen now. All the best.
Thank you, sir. We'll keep your mind in the words in your mind. I now invite Dr. Usha Hegde, Professor and Head, Department of Oral Pathology and Microbiology, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Priyanka. As we come to the end of today's inaugural function, I warmly welcome one and all for the much awaited panel discussion, followed by even more awaited Triple O case presentations by students. But before that, an even more pressing duty is the duty of rendering gratitude. Organizing an event uneventfully requires blessings, permissions, cooperation, and teamwork. Hence, I take this opportunity and privilege in expressing gratitude to all those who have made it possible. With the blessings of Sri Jagadguru Shivaratrishwara Mahaswami Garu, I would like to thank JSS AHER for encouraging and supporting us completely in organizing and conducting this symposium. My sincere thanks to our Pro-Chancellor, Dr. B. Suresh, our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Surinder Singh, and our Registrar, Dr. B. Manjunatha, for their continuous support. The ever-smiling, ever-charming, and ever-enthusiastic Dr. Kushalappa PA, Director of our academics, JSS AHER, readily agreed to be a part of today's program and presided as our esteemed chief guest. Sir, our gratitude to you always for being not 100, but 101% supportive. Beloved Principal Dr. Ravindra S. and Vice Principal Dr. Chandrasekhar are truly the strength behind all our efforts. We sincerely thank you, sirs, for being the guiding force at every step in all our endeavors. The objective of this Triple O Symposium is to bring out learning through discussions of cases based on expertise of different specialists and to initiate and incorporate interdisciplinary training at student level. In doing so, our panelists for the symposium, Dr. Ram Narayan, Dr. Santosh, and Dr. Shashidhara, and the moderator for the session, Dr. T.V. Narayan, have readily agreed to deliver and preside this discussion. We thank each one of you for being a part of our program. Thank you. A special note of thanks to all our judges who enthusiastically agreed to judge the case presentation sessions. I'm confident that the students will not disappoint you and you are going to have a gala time judging these sessions. Sincere thanks to Dr. Radhika Bavle, Professor and Head, Department of Oral Pathology, Krishna Devaraya Dental College, for willingly and gladly accepting to deliver the take-home message later on in the valedictory ceremony. Thank you, ma'am. Heads of all departments, faculty members, postgraduate and undergraduate students of our institution and other institutions, heartfelt sincere thanks for responding to us and participating in today's symposium. The enthusiasm showed in your participation is indeed overwhelming and encouraging for us to continue the good work in future. Working as a team in organizing this Triple O meet has been interactive, joyful, and very satisfying for all of us from the organizing committee. I would like to acknowledge the support rendered by all the 3 Triple O departments in effective organization of this meet. Definitely, the team meetings that we had will be remembered. Finally, this symposium in the era of virtual times is possible only because of the IT department support of our university and support from the office staff of our dental college. I would especially like to thank Dr. Sumukh, our very own student, for his readiness in working with us and helping us patiently with all the nitty-gritties of organizing this virtual event, making our job easy and smooth sailing. Thank you, Dr. Sumukh. With this, I thank one and all once again for all the support. Thank you.
Let's proceed now with the panel discussion. The topic is mutual expectations for the best patient care. As the quote goes, a group becomes a team when each member is sure enough of themselves and their contribution to praise the skill of the other. A team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. Now, this topic is something which is very much needed in any medical scenario. This is something which we all need to know, follow, and teach the upcoming students in the respective departments for the best patient care. Hopefully, at the end of this session, we will reinforce the dependability on each other, foregoing our egos for the greater good. I hope all the participants can take away something new from this panel discussion. Over to Dr. Sujit Shetty, Professor and Head, Department of Oral Surgery, to introduce our panelists.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ram Narayan BK, Associate Professor, Dayanand Sagar College of Dental Sciences, Bangalore. He is a graduate from Enapaya Dental College, Bangalore, and has completed his post-graduation from VS Dental College, Bangalore. He has more than 40 publications in reputed national and international journals. He has been an EC member of IAOMR and review board member of JIAOMR, and is currently working in projects on artificial intelligence, which is his main interest. Welcome, Dr. Ram Narayan.
Thank you, Doctor.
I also take pleasure in introducing my fellow maxillofacial surgeon, Dr. Santosh Rao, Additional Professor, Department of OMFS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Raipur. He finished his undergraduate and postgraduate studies from RGHS and is board certified oral and maxillofacial surgeon. He has many publications in reputed national and international journals. He is currently involved in institutional research cell of AIIMS, Raipur, and is a part of funded projects from ICMR. His main area of interest are surgical oncology, microvascular reconstruction, and orthognathic surgery. Welcome, Dr. Santosh Rao.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Dr. Sri Shaila. I'll be introducing Dr. Shashidhar and Dr. Narayan sir. Dr. Shashidhar is Professor and Head, Department of Oral Pathology and Microbiology, and also Associate Dean Research at Coorg Institute of Dental Sciences, Virajpet. Sir completed his undergraduate from GDC Bangalore and postgraduate from Bapuji Dental College, Davangere. His research interest includes, but not limited to, tobacco and OPMDs, molecular studies on oral cancer, oral microbiome, and artificial intelligence in healthcare. Sir has numerous publications in national and various workshops and conferences. Having known Sir from close quarters as PG student, I proudly say Sir is a great teacher, always approachable, yet straightforward and critic, which thrives us to work hard, search on the spot, think, analyze, and apply to bring the best student in us. His attention to minor details and thought-provoking sessions play a pivotal role in encouraging young minds to apply theoretical knowledge into clinical practice and research. The current undergraduate research projects, patents, and awards under his guidance at CIDS stands a testimony for this. He has commendable communication and writing skills and knowledge in the subject, and even to this day, we go back to him for his help and advice. He contributes ideas and also values others' suggestions equally, and is a treasure to his current institution by being backbone in all research and administrative activities. So we can expect some valid, high thoughtful insights from Sir today. So welcome you, Sir. So Dr. T.V. Narayan, Sir graduated with distinction from Ambedkar Dental College and did his post-graduation from Nair Dental College, Mumbai. Sir was a gold medal winner in BDS with highest aggregate in Bangalore University. He was also adjudged the best outgoing student. In All India PGET ranking, he was ranked an enviable 34th. And since he finished his post-graduation from Nair Dental College and Hospital in Mumbai, he has been an active academician and has guided many young, proud oral pathologists till 2013. He has his own clinical practice since 1999. He is trained in implant dentistry at Berlin, Seoul, and Germany. He is fellow and diplomate of prestigious International Congress of Oral Implantologists. He is also founder, director of International Team for Implantologists Study Club in Bangalore, where he is also a certified speaker. Dr. T.V. Narayan is also a visiting faculty on various implant courses around the country. He has been a distinguished speaker at national and international conferences on implantology. His papers on oral pathology and implantology has been extensively published in various national and international journals. He is also the key opinion leader for 3M Novabone products, and his focus has remained on the practice on implants, aesthetic dentistry, and full mouth rehabilitation. He has also embarked upon a parallel consultation of oral and maxillofacial pathology and is one of the most sought after experts in this field. Apart from dentistry, Sir is a good photographer, expert chef, musician, and a biking enthusiast. I remember as a postgraduate student being scared of Narayan Sir as examiner. Now I really wonder that the scare factor was not for the person, but for his depth of knowledge. So who else will be the best moderator? None other than Dr. T.V. Narayan. So who is a perfect blend of clinician, surgeon, and a pathologist. So we welcome you, sir, for the program. Over to you, sir, for the panel discussion. And sir, to begin the panel discussion.
I don't know who did all that digging of dirt on me to say so many kind words about me. Thank you so much. And it's indeed a pleasure to be out here with all of you on this Thursday morning to talk about the expectations from different specialists towards patient care and the impact that that has over the outcome of treatment. Finally, you know, the end aim of every intervention is to get a favorable outcome for your patient. And if that means that teamwork is the only way to do this, so be it. That has to be. Now, just to tell you that to be able to get this laptop at the right position for people to be able to see my face, it is resting on a copy of Marx and another copy of Burkitt. And those are the two. That's the platform on which my laptop is standing right now. Having said that, we know that the therapeutics is the goal of therapeutics is to achieve favorable outcomes for our patient, and the therapeutics are delivered by clinicians, be it somebody who's delivering pharmaceuticals or somebody who's doing a surgical procedure. And both of these modalities of treatment are based upon the ability to make an accurate diagnosis, which often is predicated on getting a good tissue sample and getting a biopsy done. So when, if you look back at history and the history of what we know as surgical pathology was actually something that was born out of a necessity for surgeons. Surgeons were cutting things up. They were looking at, and they were not able to find answers for why certain diseases were behaving. This is back in the 19th century. And they were wondering why certain diseases were behaving a particular way and others the other way. And so people like Virchow and company, when the tissues that they were taking out were being examined deeply by them to try to arrive at answers as to why particular diseases were behaving differently. And then was born the science of surgical pathology. So having said that, there is one person out here who's very rarely seen by the patient or who rarely sees the patient, and that happens to be the pathologist. So because the two of you are at an advantage as far as that information which has to be passed on to the pathologist goes, let me turn this table a little bit over here to have the pathologist out here to give his point of view to start with. I mean, I can play the devil's advocate. I'm a clinician as well as a pathologist, so I work both ways. So let me start here with Dr. Shashidhar and get his views on what his expectations are from clinicians when they're asking him a question when they send him a biopsy. Over to you, Shashidhar.
Thanks, Narayan. A pleasure to be here. Thanks, Usha, for inviting me over. And it's that much more pleasurable because the moderator sort of will, I hope, accept whatever views that I put forward, because these are views that have been sort of developed in conjunction. We have worked together for a long time. He and Dr. Borges were sort of the people who were guiding me in my initial years in pathology. So the thoughts are as much his as it is mine. With the permission of the moderator, I'd like to start off with a small PPT that I have ready. So this is titled Needs, Wants and Demands with the Trio Ever Meet. A question that has to be asked because when I started my journey in pathology, we were talking of integrated management. I think I'm 20 years plus into this journey and we are still talking of integrated management. So why the non-acceptance of integrated management is a question I thought we need to ask. And going to my interest of old Tamil songs from Saraswati Shtapadam, Kalvia, Selvama, Virama, which is more important? Is it courage, knowledge, or wealth? So whenever there's a fight, whenever we try to prove that somebody is more important than the other, it obviously leads to a controversy. So my experience as a pathologist is this: most often than not, I'm expected to work with my eyes closed and only into the microscope. Many times, bits and pieces of tissues get distributed about. So there's a whole group of pathologists looking at elephant and collar. I guess this is what a lot of pathologists will feel, when multiple bits are sent to multiple people. We seriously don't know what to make out of multiple bits. So this is what we need to look at. What is absolutely essential for a decision-making process? Is the question or the information that's asked, is it necessary? Or is it something that, may be shared, actually not too important, but it would be nice to have it? Or more often than not, is it a demand? It actually does not matter to the decision-making process, but is asked because you have the power to ask for. So I did a little bit of a literature search. Is it a problem that we face, or is a problem that is generally faced by a lot of people? This is, of course, from my editorial, which was written, that some sort of communication does exist between pathologists and their clinics. More often than not, it is circumstantial. And it is usually based on what the clinician feels about the clinico-pathological finding. Often, there is a deliberate withholding pertinent information, especially in academics, because of the perception of rivalry that is there. It's something that exists anywhere. The forms, a recent survey found that 2.4% of the case had no clinical history on the request forms, and 10% of amended surgical pathology reports essentially got amended because of clinical information that was unknown to the pathologist at the time of sign out, which was requested for, and then the report had to be amended. So what would need is for the doctor who's actually treating the patient to sign out the requisition form. More often than not, we have this habit of the junior most. It could be a junior most postgraduate. It could be an intern who's doing the requisition form filling. Most often they are not present to what needs to be done. So it gets the case history and the information gets missed. A proper orientation of the specimen as to what is the anterior, posterior, lateral, medial would help us out a lot to make our report more pertinent to you. And I think a lot of this will be solved if we go back to the basic question: why do we biopsy? Dr. Borges puts it across very succinctly when she says, if you're doing a biopsy, the basic question that you're asking me is, what do I do next? Do I treat it? Do I follow a medicinal line of treatment? Do you want me to treat it surgically? These are the questions that come through in a biopsy. And to answer that, the main thing that a pathologist would require is information, a complete case detail, radiographs to be provided so I can appreciate what is being described in the radiographic description, photographs so that I can orient myself to what you saw during the surgical process, and any other information that you think is relevant. I would underline the word representative and sufficient. Very often we get biopsies from somewhere near the area because the lesional area is not approachable. And then we get this wrong. Here the lesional area is not lesional. And many times we take the strictly. So we have certain what I call biopsies. The biopsies are thin and there's a small name. We used to show that irrespective of the biopsies, 5 mm or 1.5 centimeter, the healing process and time is the same. So the more tissue that I get, the more information that I get, and the more better my diagnosis will be. And please be patient with your pathologists. Don't expect a lot of times we need to do special things. It takes some time to prepare the stains and stain it. Many times, because we are signing out the diagnosis form, it has to go for immunohistochemistry. The entire process takes at least 4 to 5 days, for it to be sent out or that stain to be prepared and then the report to be given. And the final thing that I need from a clinician is respect of opinion. As a pathologist, we probably have a better view of what you do as a clinician, either in surgery or medicine, because our training in the BDS course has looked at that. What we do as pathologists may not be so present to you because the pathology training in undergraduate course is basically looking at slides. So when we give out an opinion, we would have gone through a due process of, second opinions if need be. If I'm signing out a report to inform, just to tell you, we as pathologists have, we have no qualms about asking somebody for a second opinion. It is very common that a lot of times when I am unable to call it out something, I might send it to Dr. Usha, I'll send it out to Dr. Narayan saying, listen, I don't know what this is, to help me out. So we don't have qualms about taking second opinions. Your final report usually would contain what is given in the second opinion also. So an opinion is given, please respect. It might be extremely different from what your clinical context of a case is, but this is what I have seen on the slide, or this is what we have seen on the slide, and we are reporting to you. This is what a pathologist can give you. Usually, and I would say in almost 95 to 97% of the cases, you will get a definitive diagnosis. There are many times where a definitive diagnosis is not possible. So you end up with a probable diagnosis or registered diagnosis, and also telling you what can be done to make the diagnosis more pertinent. If this is also not possible, you will get a comment about the disease process. Is it benign? Is it malignant? Is it autoimmune? When none of the above is possible. The grading and the integration into the staging process will help in the decision-making process, especially in malignancies. And also please read our reports because our descriptions carry a lot of information. I generally see the clinician looking only at the diagnosis and, forgetting whatever is on top or ignoring whatever is on top. It leads to these funny conditions, wherein the bass jumping and you have a bass guitarist who's jumping off with his guitar. So integrated medicine, I guess, is the need of the hour. We can hold hands and go forward for the betterment of the patient, is my view. So I would stop with this few words. Narayan, over to you.
Thank you, Shashidhar. I think I think you spelled out a lot of our concerns as pathologists, and to an extent, our expectations from clinicians as pathologists. Having said that, I think we also need to address the fact that there is actually a gap on our side as well, where there is, I know of enough circumstances where there have been inadvertent, not necessarily inadvertent, sometimes unnecessary delays in reporting, which actually frustrates the surgeon and often and other clinicians before they're able to embark on a treatment modality for a particular patient. And given that, I think it's just fair that we should now ask the person who actually takes the tissue out and sends it to us with that inherent question of what do we do next. And I will hand over to Dr. Santosh Rao for a view from the surgeon before we go on to Dr. Ram Narayan after that. All right.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to be at the podium here. I'm sorry to say I'm in the line of fire here. So to go with it, yes, sir, do you want me to share a couple of slides of mine? Can I?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm just going to keep myself mute so that you don't hear anything else from me. That's it.
Yes, yes, sir. Can you see my slide now?
Yes.
So I'll just keep it brief. I'm just talking about my perspectives on what do we expect in the multidisciplinary approach to an individual patient. This is my institute where I'm working at. This is my hospital building on the top and the administrative building, administrative building on the top and hospital down. To start with, there's an old dictum. I'm sure everybody over here knows it. What a role of a surgeon, a pathologist, or a radiologist, and an intern for that sake. We all know this, how we go for a duck hunting and a surgeon's, it's said that he's just going to go for a shot and they say, oh, I have done my job. Find out whether the duck is, I have killed the duck or I've done the proper hunting. I'm sure everybody knows about it. But to be precise, the way it is interpreted, it makes us as a surgeons look like a butchers. Frankly, is it so? It's probably 100 years or more dictum. It's definitely not the same. Nowadays, we sort of go in more of evidence-based, and the clinical research is more into application for any surgical procedure. Surgical procedures is not blind, absolutely not blind. It's changed over a period of time. Without evidence-based, if you do it, there might be legal consequences. We cannot, this is not the time we say, probably in US and UK, the patients are suing. I'm sure patients are suing even in India too. We face legal suits even in India. So that is where synonymous or synergism has to happen with the three major specialities which deals with the pathological conditions of most of the body. And pertinent to us, the talk right now is head and neck area. As a surgeon, a medicine and a radiologist, that's a diagnostic specialist, and a pathologist and the microbiologist. Of course, so, OPath is both OPath and microbiology, so I take it both into consideration here. Now, I had certain things which I had to tell you. As surgeons, most of the things, the young surgeons, when they start of the careers, they try to see a pathologist. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to blame anybody at not making a statement here. They think the pathologists are a pattern recognition persons. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So most of the pathologists we pick up from the pattern. So it has to be an evidence-based, means if you can pick up a pattern and say this is an ameloblastoma, tissues won't hang up with hands and say, oh, see, I'm a cell, I'm ameloblastoma, I am not an OKC. It's not going to recognize by itself. There's a pattern and there's a specialist. You need a lot of expertise and years of looking into the microscope to learn those patterns. Only then they come into the ideology of it. So I'm sure Sir was telling, Shashidhar was telling that, Sir was telling that a lot of people, they complain about the diagnosis being different from the clinical picture what the patient has got. Definitely, because until unless you give a clear picture as a surgeon, we give a clear picture of the patient to the pathologist or a diagnostic person, from the backdrop you cannot make out. So I have one suggestion on this panel, which I just came up when I was listening to Dr. Shashidhar on this. We follow in our institute, we have something called as pathological, clinico-pathological meetings every month. I'm sure all the colleges, they do have it. Apart from that, we have something called as pathology clinics. I'm sure it might be an eye-opener for most of the people. If they have it, it's wonderful. It's just an area sharing. What we do is, in a form, when we give a request form for the pathology, we give our prescription and we send the sample, what sample we have taken, what biopsy, which area, everything we mention it. In the second half or the later half of the form, there is an input from the pathologist. So every patient in our institute, since in my institutional practice, I think it's easy for me. The form and the sample, the patient carries to the pathological clinics where a resident from the pathology is always available. So they have around-the-clock pathology clinics in our institute, wherein which the resident, I'm sure the consultants won't get to see all the patients until it's required. The pathology residents take a brief history from the patients and take the pertinence, and they check the records and they fill up their area which of interest. Because I'm sure mouth to mouth, always there is a lacuna. So I might give full information, I might not, my residents might not fill up fully, but the pathology residents, they pick up what they require. So probably the transitional information loss might go away in that, number one. And number two, Dr. Shashidhar was mentioning about specimen orientation. So again, in our institution practice, it is mandatory for my pathology department that any samples which we take, we are supposed to send the pictures. Without pictures, it's not, they don't even take up my samples. So we are bound to take a picture, take a printout and send it. So probably initial days, it used to feel very difficult for us, like, why the hell we have to take a picture and take a printout? It's an extra effort. But the proper patient care, definitely it's helping out in a big way in practice right now. Now, coming to this multidisciplinary approach, we are all talking about we should have a multidisciplinary approach. We should like what we do and what individual persons' perspectives and everything. End of the day, we all think about, fine, the cases come, a diagnosis and the radiological diagnosis is very pertinent. OMDR guys have to do it. Then prognosis, pathological report which dictates the prognosis. This is what we traditionally we talk about it. But frankly speaking, as a surgeon, I look, there are multiple facets for every person to do in the treatment. It's simple, like a treatment planning. I cannot do a treatment planning. I said it's an evidence-based. Just by the patient coming into ameloblastoma and says, oh, SPR with an ameloblastoma or a CT scan showing me. No, it's very difficult. It's more evolving. Surgery is evolving. The treatment is evolving. We need intraoperative monitoring. I have my radiologist coming into my theater at times to help me out because see, MRIs, I'm not maybe so expert in reading an MRI, CT scan, and sometimes even in simple OPG, I might miss out some things. So my radiologists come to my theater to help me out. And my pathologists, also the residents come to take the frozen section is done in a routine. I'm sure everybody is aware of it, but we get pathology residents coming to the theater. Now, my point in this forum is, why should a OMDR, a specialist and a pathologist should not be coming into the theater? Why should we stop from it? Of course, it's an individual perspective. How do you want to do it? Because ultimately, a residence in pathology or a residence in OMDR, if they get to go in firsthand to see the surgery, what exactly is happening, how is it happening, probably their whole outlook might be more beneficial to the patient. And surgeon might not be so cribbing and say, he didn't give me, he don't understand. What do this fellow knows? What do this fellow knows? So this is all, this cribbing and comes only because there's a lack of information and lack of transitional information. With this basics, I thought I'll just show you one or two cases. I don't want to go in detail about pinpointing and what are things. Couple of cases how we got help from the pertinent cases and help. This is a massive tumor. Let me not go in details, but tell you what exactly is this. You can see there's a perforation in the skin. We were confused what exactly it might be. And this is a CT scan, and it looks like we were scared that it might be and the patient had a severe complaint of bleeding on just in a simple probing on the lesion. So in an angiograph, you can see this, the angiograph gave us a feeder vessel. This is which helped me out. My radiologist, in fact, they came to the theater and they were able to help me out which vessel. So it made my job so simple. When I went to surgery, I just had to go to the facial artery, ligate the facial artery, and the tumor was out in bomb. Just hardly. See, you can see the attachment of the tumor is to the mandible resection. Hardly 2.5 centimeters of mandible was removed in this case. Only thing is, if I was not given a detailed angiograph of the lesion, or if the detailed description of the lesion, my planning would have been entirely different. Probably it would have taken a larger time, and our prognosis would be difficult one. And it came out to be a juvenile somatite cemento-ossifying fibro. This is a case, we can read it up in detail about it. The learning point from this thing is, it's difficult to get to final diagnosis all the time. We, as surgeons, most of the time, yes, it's more like a goose chase, but definitely not. We, with a definitive planning and an interaction with across the specialties, we can make an effective management of the patients. And definitely no, surgery is not a wild goose chase. It's need a good support system. Only then we can go about. And another one small example I thought I'll tell you. This is a classical case of odontogenic keratocyst. We just thought we just go ahead and straight away do it. But this patient came up with a history of multiple aspirations like this. Whenever he gets pus, he normally aspirates in the area and remove the pus and do it. So we were curious and sent it to our pathology department, microbiology, and got it examined. It turned out to be a growth of Burkholderia species. It is an animal disorder. Basically, patient came up with having, because during the repeated aspirations, he got an idea of having a cow's urine, oral rinsing with cow's urine. So he got an animal disease in it. Why I mentioned over here as pattern is I had missed it out. Frankly, I didn't even ask the history of using a cow urine. My pathology department picked it up. So I said to pathology clinics, then they took up history and they found out that patient had a history of rinsing with a cow's urine, which me and my residents had missed it out. Of course, now he's under long-term 6 months therapy with ceftazidime and meropenem. That's altogether a different story. Okay, I'll not go into this. Okay, so what I say is multiple planning is what is important. Ultimately, you have a extensive planning. We cannot do an effective management. As a surgeon, if I think I can do alone ghost chasing, absolutely impossible. It is difficult to do that. So an interaction in every step, not only in giving a diagnosis, not only in giving a pathological report, each and every step of the patient care, all three specialties need to be interactive. Only then, ultimately, we think of giving a good patient care. That's what my call on that. So, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Santosh. That was indeed quite a nice presentation to show us about your interdisciplinary approach to working with these pathologies. I mean, you did touch upon the evidence-based approach, and at this point, especially to the young ones who are listening in, I would like to point out that from the beginning, when evidence-based medicine was first defined by David Sackett, the use of the word judicious, if you go into the definition of evidence-based medicine, it is about the use of all currently available evidence, but the judicious use of the currently available evidence, which means that there is a human factor involved beyond what is written in the books. That means that you need to be applying your mind as a clinician or as a diagnostician to arrive at your diagnosis. So it's not just looking at patterns. For instance, I'll tell you from the standpoint, I know you, because what happens with youngsters is that they believe that if they've sent you a piece of tissue, you just look at it and it's like we are doing some magic ourselves, right? That, oh, okay, you just put it under the microscope, look at it, there are so many these cells and this is it. That's the whole story. But when you start looking at patterns, and if you're not able to stratify and put it into clinical context, the same pattern can be in a completely benign lesion to a highly malignant lesion, right? And that's when we end up needing more clinical information from the ones who have examined the patient to the ones who have taken the tissue out in the first place. And having said that, let me hand over to Dr. Ram Narayan to give us his views as one of the first people that in our settings, most patients, so if you take a dental hospital setting, patients walk into an oral medicine department and so they are more or less like, casting directors who decide which role who's going to have to take care of this particular patient. And so they are the ones who, as long as they don't have the couches with them, that's where we'll have to draw our lines. So Dr. Ram Narayan, please talk to us a little bit about what you feel about patient care. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Very good morning to everyone. As Narayan sir said, we define roles. I think my presentation also describes about the various roles that we play and as a team member and what we expect from the other members of the team, that is from the other two specialties. So with the permission, I'll go ahead with the presentations. So the foremost, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me for this panel discussion on mutual expectations for the best patient care. So an effective teamwork, like already have been discussed, will immediately and positively affect the patient's care. So over the years, and the global demand is that we give quality care to the patient, and this can be only achieved by means of a teamwork in which we put the patient in the center. So over the years, this has been one of the focus of all the 3 departments. We have been striving, and we need to do much more, as we all know, where we put the patient in the center, and all the 3 departments, oral medicine, oral surgery, and oral pathology, play an important role in your patient, giving the best patient care to the patient. So when we talk about patient care, we have to look into 2 aspects, that is expectations of the patient and expectations of the team members and the roles that we play. So based on this, finally we achieve the best care to the patient. So like I said, my presentation is basically about defining roles for each of the team members and what each other we expect from each other. So like Narayan sir said, in the present setup, oral medicine radiology is the first point of contact for the patient. And basically we begin with history. So it is our responsibility that we take the history, a proper history of the patient. We do a clinical examination and we advise the radiographic investigations for the patient. So more often than not, this part of history is often neglected by many of us. And I would like to stress to the postgraduate students here that this is a very important part of the interaction with the patient. And these minute details that we get often make a lot of difference to the diagnosis. Like how Dr. Santosh pointed out, the history of the patient rinsing with the cow ears, son. So that itself shows the importance of taking a proper history. And obtaining a proper history is usually the first step towards an accurate diagnosis. It could be the duration of the lesion. It could be whether it is a recurrent lesion, whether the patient has undergone any previous surgeries, patient having any adverse habits. All these can be elicited by history, and all this will play an important role in the diagnosis of the patient and also further to the treatment and the management of the patient. So after that, as a diagnostician, we examine the lesion, we examine the pathology, we have to note down all the minute details of the examination, be the extent, the size, the site, the appearance, and we have to give a differential diagnosis for the clinical case. So, and even during our PG days, we always worked as a team. We had an excellent interaction between all the 3 departments in VS Dental College. So we always discuss the clinical differential diagnosis with the surgeon and the oral pathologist. So as a diagnostician, we have to take them on board and discuss the clinical differential diagnosis. We may get different opinions from them. So it's always good to get different opinions. And because basic final goal of the all this is to give a better care to the patient. So as an imaging radiologist, it is our forte that we give a radiographic diagnosis for the, we do a radiographic investigation and we give a radiographic diagnosis to the patient. So radiology plays a very important role in helping the clinician to attain a diagnosis. We are at an advantage nowadays that modern imaging, we are able to demonstrate intricate details, critical anatomical locations we are able to get from the radiological investigations. Also, we are able to delineate between the pathology and the vital structures, whether any vital structures are involved, and also to a certain extent define the pathologic process. So it is our responsibility as a radiologist to give all this information to the surgeon, which will help him in his better treatment planning, so that there are no surprises on the table. So like I said, it is a responsibility to the imaging department to conduct the specified diagnostic investigations. And also we need to discuss with the clinician, like previously it was said, it is not just discussing the treatment planning or the outcome. I believe that even at the stage of asking for investigation, discussion is better with the pathologist and the surgeon. And then we are able to advise for investigation so that we don't repeatedly send the patient for multiple investigations. So at the stage of investigation itself, if we need to have a discussion with the team, other members of the team, and then so that we can plan for the various investigations that are asked for the patient. So as a radiologist, there are a few things that we expect from a clinician, in this case, a maxillofacial surgeon. That is, we would like them to have a basic knowledge of the imaging concept so that they would be able to interpret our report better and also know the limitations. They shouldn't have a lot of unwanted expectations. So the limitations, each modality will have its own limitations. So understand the limitations and also try to give us all the, like this in this scenario I'm talking about, where we don't see a case, we get a referral for a radiographic investigation. We also require the clinical data for the patient so that we are able to give a better diagnosis. So radiological diagnosis also always has a clinical correlation. It's not just a radiographic diagnosis. So prior to, these are the things that I said, prior to have advising for radiographic investigation, the clinician should also have a clear idea about the usefulness of the investigations. Is the investigation going to give the information that they require? If not, please discuss with the radiologist before advising for an investigation. So investigation imaging requisitions to specify the charts of investigation, surgeon's expectations, and also so that the information received strengthens the approach in treatment of the patient. Like I said, provide mandatory demographic relevant clinical data, including the patient's symptoms, which primarily brought him to the clinician, their duration, clinical signs. All these will help us in giving you a better radiographic diagnosis. So what we, So what we need to provide as a clinician to pathologist, Dr. Shashidhar already said, we have to give them the history of the condition, the extent, location. And like I've already said, I too believe that the pathologist should see the case. If not, at least provide them with the photographs. This is how we have been trained during our PG times also. We always used to have a triple discussion, chairside discussion also with the surgeon and the oral medicine department and the pathology department. And then at every stage, we used to have a discussion so that the best could be given to the patient. So while giving a biopsy specimen, like Dr. Shashidhar said, what is the requirement of doing a biopsy? Basically, it is to establish a diagnosis. So we need to provide them with a representative sample. The representative sample should have a sufficient depth, the extent. It should have a normal tissue. All this, as a diagnostician, as a clinician, we need to keep in mind that we provide them with a sufficient tissue, because many times we get back from the pathologist saying that tissue is not representative or tissue is not sufficient. So to avoid that, we in such scenarios we may need to do a rebiopsy. So to avoid that, always keep in mind that we need to give them a proper sample. So the quantity of the tissue is as important as the quality. That's what I said. Sufficient size, depth, and the representative area of the lesion should be given. So a model diagnosis is again superimposition of what other panelists have said. Model diagrams, label the diagrams, and then send it to the pathologist. So by this, and also as a clinician, we need to have a basic knowledge of the histopathology aspects, the storage media, all that, discuss with the pathologist so that we don't go wrong anywhere and we give the best to the patient. So from a pathologist, as a clinician, what we require as an academician and a clinician, I would like to have the report having both academic and clinical relevance. I think most of the pathologists are doing it, but sometimes we do get reports which may not cover the entire aspects. So to conclude, like I always said, discussion, Dr. Usha in her introductory vote of thanks said, leave the egos. So leave the egos behind, set it aside, discuss at every stage with your team members, because the ultimate goal of all of us is to provide the best care to the patient. As a way forward, triple O meets have been happening in every college, but we need to strengthen it better. And also, one of my suggestions would be formation of tumor boards in colleges, which would include specialties from doctors from all the specialties, so that we will be able to treat the patient better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ram Narayan. That was really nice, your presentation. And I mean, having heard you out, let me say this out here. And like I said, I won't play the devil's advocate. Let me say this out here that an ego is a very essential part of your personality. Okay, it is one of the most protective mechanisms that you can develop, and it is necessary for you to keep your ego intact. You should not let it come in the way of decision making as far as these things go. So having said that, what the common thread that comes out of all three of your presentations is that we need to try to understand the minimum data sets that we need from each other, first of all.
Yes.
What I find, and I mean, I've been in clinical practice of pathology and surgical pathology for 25 years now, 1996 onwards. And I'm very fortunate that I have a great set of surgeons who work with me. I mean, I just got lucky, but people like Dr. Sanjeev Nair, Anjan and company, starting from Dr. Kishore Naik, because he's the first one who actually started, this whole interactive oral pathology network that I've developed. And I owe a lot to Kishore because, he was the first of the lot who actually took the time to try to speak to me, to understand what it is that I want from him before he could get answers from me as to what to say. And I find that over the years, the whole team has worked in the same kind of very receptive manner. And it helps because it helps us develop as individuals, particularly in pathology. I'll tell you, in India, surgery is well advanced. There is a lot that you can do as a radiologist. There is a lot of, if you just look at, who's that? No, it's not from me, okay? I don't have, anyway. So if you just look at, at a career as an oral pathologist right now, practically, an oral pathologist's career, unless he has the cojones to take up on his own to start doing reporting on his own, they are basically consigned to a desk job in a college where they are completely at the mercy of clinicians to provide tissue. And when they don't get tissue, there is not enough experience, and it's a vicious cycle which is very, very difficult to break. So, and I wrote an editorial about this in our the Oral Path Journal a few months ago, saying that if we do not work together, if we do not look at turning this into a diagnostic group specialty, a group kind of practice, we will end up killing each other, right? Particularly, I'm talking particularly about oral medicine and oral pathology, because these are the two branches which really end up thinking about what to do. So most oral medicine guys I know have just ended up setting up CBCT centers, and they serve people like me who are doing implants, and we end up, so financially it's a great, it's very lucrative. But as far as the science of diagnosis goes, it's almost dying, especially when you start looking at the reports that some of them write with regards to, and the same can be said about the pathologists. And I do not blame the surgeons for wanting to send their tissues away to general pathologists, because most pathologists are not able to provide adequate answers. I understand that. What we have to look at are solutions, and solutions will come when, again, like Shashidhar pointed out right in the beginning, that there is mutual respect. Half the time the problems come because opinions are not adequately respected. And I think one of the ways forward, and especially the ones of you who are in academic positions and who have the ability to influence academia as it is, one of the solutions would be, and we have discussed this ad nauseum back in the day when I was still teaching, would be if we were able to, like Dr. Santosh said, there is no harm in having all our pathology postgrads went down into the OT. Every neck was collected by the pathology resident, not sent up by a surgery resident. They went down with a printout of the neck, and the neck was pinned onto that printout and brought up, right? So that there was no question of, any confusion. So having said that, it also helps if the surgeons, the surgical residents, the oral medicine diagnosis residents were to spend similar amounts of time in pathology to try to understand what goes on there, right? That it is not just that you've sent something and we magically conjure up some words to fill in a few blanks and send you an answer there. So this is my view on how to improve relationships between all of us without throwing our egos out, but while maintaining that each of us will respect the other and find solutions for our patients. Having said that, I would like to hear from the participants if there are any particular questions for either of the or any of the panelists out here. Yes, sir, Dr. Santosh.
If you have permission, I just wanted to add up one thing.
Sure.
Sir, regarding your concerns about oral pathology and oral medicine having less representation in the patient care and even in the hospital setup and most of the setups per se. Now, my thoughts about is like maxillofacial surgery representing into our ministries and a lot of levels to have incorporated maxillofacial surgeons into various hospital-based setups also.
Mm-hmm.
So, frankly, I don't have a luxury of having a oral pathologist. I mean, it's been last 9 years I'm working in AIIMS. I don't have an oral pathologist with me. I don't have an OMDR. So I have a lot of difficulties when it comes to odontogenic tumors. Most of the times I piecemeal my tumor, I send it to my friend. I mean, Chandan is a very good friend of mine. I keep sending to him also sometime. And here and there, I sort of get information. Why not, as an association of oral pathology, give a representation that you have to be representing yourself in medical colleges also? Because it's an evidence base. It's a way to look forward now. We cannot restrain ourselves to dental colleges, and we didn't restrain. We need to expand our own horizons. That's what my opinion is. We need to represent.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is something that we've also, that this is something that I expressed very clearly in the editorial I wrote for the Oral Path Journal. Unfortunately, the ones who how this is. And there is an organization which has an hierarchy which is which needs to be broken into, and then that becomes that's a different topic for another day. I'm looking for questions here. Dr. Sudhindra Prabhu. Yeah. I don't see a real question to anybody over here. So there are lots of.
Can I just come up with something?
Pardon me? Yes, please.
Yeah. So there's one more thing that we have been discussing over a long time now of having a department of oral diagnosis rather than having the splits, because it doesn't make sense to have the splits anymore. But as you said, the powers to be have to take a call.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if any of you who have read that editorial will find that all of these thoughts are put down over there. That, do we really need to have two specialties for making a diagnosis? Because if we can integrate and you have 3 years to maybe even increase the length of the course to a 4th year. And increase the number of seats so that everybody gets the benefit of getting that seat, and actually probably much more meaningful the whole process than having it split up into. And by the way, this is how it was way back, right? It was originally an oral diagnosis thing, which which was split into oral medicine and and oral pathology back in the 70s. I mean, that had its own political background, and it has huge political ramifications at this point. So I don't see this happening ever. But between individuals, it is always possible to bridge those gaps and make things work. Yeah.
Sir, can I
Dr.
have a question for Ramnarayan sir?
Yes.
If I'm allowed. Sir, I just wanted to know, I was curious. I just want to know, in the curriculum of post-graduation in oral medicine and radiology, is CBCT is it mandate, or the people learn on the back end after they're finishing and they set up a clinic? And how does it work, sir?
CBCT is a part of the curriculum, sir. But very sadly, CBCT machine is not part of the requirements.
Oh, that's what, because I see
it is still an optional.
Yes, only very few people report on CBCT. That's what I was just curious.
So we normally conduct courses, special courses for CBCT training for the postgraduates. And many of them, after finishing post-graduation, they go out and get themselves trained.
So I think you should press to DCA to make it mandatory to have CBCT.
We have been trying, it was only a few years back that they made digital OPG mandatory. Even that was optional.
Okay.
So about, I think 4 or 5 years back that they made the digital OPG mandatory. So we have been sending representations, but you know how it works there.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I was just curious on that. That's why I asked.
Dr. Ramnarayan, would you like to add anything to this whole discussion now?
I think it's what has been said is covers everything, sir. But like I said, like you said, it is left to the individual now, how we integrate ourselves with others, keeping our egos but still working together, and then. Because I think as a system, it's not going to happen. So at an individual level, at a college level, at a clinic level, we need to have a teamwork, build up a team, and then go out doing it at a personal level.
So let me sum this up. You know, we've got a common thread. Everybody agrees that we need to work together. We also seem to agree that the systems may take a while to change, but if we have to change systems, it will have to start at an individual level. So my word to the audience out here, and I'm assuming most of you are oral medicine, oral surgery, oral path postgraduates. What I would like to say to you is that you'll have to start to develop this. This whole it's a concept to be able to get into teamwork. I'll tell you this because when as long as I was associated with an educational institution and we were running a department of pathology, I think we had a great team. We worked really well together, and there was not just within our own department, but together with the other specialties that were on which we are. So please understand, oral path is completely dependent on the specialties of medicine and surgery to provide us with the work that we need to do. On the other hand, you also need to understand that you as clinicians are entirely dependent on us to provide those answers that you are looking for. So if we need to develop that concept that this works to best as a team together, and start spending time with your oral medicine and oral surgery and oral path colleagues, whichever branch that you belong to try to understand where they come from. What is it that they are, what is it that they look for when you send out requisitions, be it for a radiograph or be it for a biopsy report. And you'll find that a lot of communication, the gap that you have in communication will be bridged by just picking up. So for me, as an individual who sits and does surgical pathology back here, it's a phone call away, right? I mean, right now, Sanjeev is sitting in Mexico, but if I need some information about his patient, I call him now. He will tell me what I need to know, because that's how We've worked, now it's close on 20 years that we worked together. So with that sort of an arrangement, there is no need for, so the egos can stay intact, but the work can go on, and there can be a streamlined approach to everything that we do. And that's what I would like to conclude my this thing with. If anybody has anything to add to this, we will do that. I think we are running out of time as well. Usha is sitting at the edge of her seat. So we'll wrap that up. If anybody has anything to add, I'll give you a couple of minutes and you can wrap that up.
Excuse me, sir. There's another question that has been added up there by Dr. Sonali Khatri. So if we could address that question.
In the question and answer sections.
That is.
In the Q&A, is it? Okay.
Yes.
So, what is the scope of oral pathologists in forensics? How to go about it? Dr. Shashidhar, you're the only oral pathologist on the panel. I'm going to leave it to you. Shashidhar? Hello? Dr. Shashidhar? He slept or what? No,
am I back? No. I was frozen. Okay. So forensic is also upcoming field. Will probably the fight between medicine and pathology will continue. Each of us have their own roles. You have the medicine people who have defined their roles in forensic. The pathologist also has his defined role in forensic. The person is interested in forensic. Right now, there are a whole lot of plethora of certificate courses that have opened up, which they can attend and gain more knowledge. But my personal belief on forensic is, as long as it becomes acceptable in the courts, the moment it becomes acceptable in the courts as a credible level of evidence, it will show enormous growth.
Yeah, agreed. There's also another question here, which is on the career of oral pathologists apart from academics. Shashidhar, most of the hospitals and diagnostic labs prefer to select a general pathologist, and we don't get an opportunity. Dr. Shashidhar, would you like to say something about that?
See, the general pathologist in the common labs is because a lot of their work essentially happens in the field of general path, so they would prefer a general pathologist. You can probably answer the question better because you have been practicing specialty oral pathology for a long time, and a lot of people in Bangalore do send across their services to you. Dr. Borges put it across, very nicely, sometime back when we met, and she said, I would like to have oral pathologist on my panel because I would like somebody to report on the head and neck, because it's not my, for her it is easy to say, but she says it's not my specialty area. So right. I guess it is something that will have to grow. Right now it is not. So again,
I'd like to add to that, because when you say that we do not get an opportunity, the problem is that it's not that the opportunity doesn't exist. We don't do enough to make those opportunities into viable, career options. You need to get out. You need to get really competent. The first thing is that. And half the time, I'm afraid it's really, so it starts from top to the bottom, right? I find that there is a lot of incompetence at the top, and therefore there will never be competence at the bottom. So the ones who are passing out today are going to be going out very underprepared. Even though there are people who have great potential, do not have the knowledge or the competence to go out into the real world and work. So there is then the possibility of them doing, certificate courses or fellowships to get a little bit of better qualification in head and neck. And that often means that they will be working almost almost pro bono to be able to get that kind of experience. Unfortunately, that is the sad truth of how things are in our settings right now. And that's half the reason why they do not get their opportunities, or they can't grab those opportunities that are there. Yes, Dr. Santosh, I think
I'll just come in for a small bit before Dr. Santosh comes in. You put it aptly. I had a couple of my postgraduates who cleared from here who have been practicing with cancer centers in Bangalore. They're doing good, but the problem is more often than not, at our level, a lot of us think we're not competent enough to be doing that. So that, I guess, is a huge source of the problem, as you put it. Dr. Santosh.
Dr. Santosh?
Sir, I agree with what Narayan sir mentioned. To extend it in a small of a clinical, real life scenario. As a surgeon, if you ask me, I'm sure Narayan sir mentioned a couple of times that he's got 20 to 25 years association with Dr. Nair. So it says that as a surgeon, I'll be comfortable to send my specimens to the person I have a rapport with. Please, I have to be, all the pathologists, young pathologists here, you have to understand the word I have a rapport with. Because until unless you create a rapport, until unless you create a, it's not just looking at the slides and printing a report and signing and giving it off. You need to create a rapport. You need to discuss the case. Like, there are certain messages what Dr. Narayan said. He said he is going to call Dr. Nair right now, who is sitting in Mexico, and he can talk to the patient. That rapport has to be required. Only then you can even think of building a career. Just by couple of getting a samples, not until unless if I'm good, if I'm happy with my pathologist, I'll be continuing to the rest of my life. So that rapport has to come. It's more like a marketing thing. You have to do it.
Absolutely. Finally, you have to be able to work together. All right.
Work together.
And I can see now Usha sitting on tenterhooks. So we will have to wrap this whole session up. Thank you so much, Usha, for this opportunity. And thank you all. I think you all were very enlightening as panelists. It was really a pleasure to chat with you all. I'll hand over to Usha, and we can carry on with the rest of the program.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for giving me.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody. As panelists, as moderator, the session was brilliant. As a part of this, as an audience, every one of us have taken something or the other from this discussion. So as panelists, and as Narayan sir said, he's a clinician, a surgeon, and a pathologist. All of you have put forth your expectations from one another, touched upon few limitations. You've shared your experiences with us, shared your cases wherein with the help of other departments, you could do a better patient care. So as moderator, Narayan sir, you put it in a nutshell as to plus and minus of being a clinician, a surgeon, and a pathologist. And you have highlighted how we require each other and each other's trust for better patient care. So that you have highlighted the role of teamwork and also the role of each one of us in delivering the best patient care. With this, I thank each one of you for being here and contributing to this panel discussion. As a token of our appreciation, I would request you to accept our gratitude in the form of certificate. Dr. Ram Narayan sir, thank you so much for being a part of this panel.
Thank you for inviting me, ma'am.
Dr. Santosh Rao. Thank you, sir,
Thank you,
for being here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, sir. Dr. Shashidhar.
Thank you so much.
And Dr. Narayan, sir. Thank you all of you for a brilliant session.
Thank you all.
Priyanka, I would just like to add, Narayan, we always believed in letting go of our egos and, going for the better patient care. But today, take home point from you, still have your ego intact too. Thank you.
Sujit, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Long time.
Yeah, long time.
Thank you. Thank you for being
Cheers,
here.
cheers. All right.
So let's go to the next part of our program, that is presentation of uncommon case reports. Now, each case presentation will be done by 3 presenters, one from each of the representative department. And this format has been planned to bring out the essence of this program.
It was very simple and very crisp.
Divided into 3 groups, Burkett, Laskin, and Schaefer. And each group will be judged by 3 judges, one from the respective OOO departments. And the best 3 presentations will be awarded prizes in the valedictory function. Judges' decision will be final. I now request Dr. Sanjay to introduce the judges from the field of oral medicine.
Good morning, all. First, I would like to introduce Dr. Tarun Mas. Dr. Tarun Mas, we voluntarily agreed to be a part of the session and to be the judge for the session. Dr. Tarun Mas graduated from Darshan Dental College and Hospital, Udaipur in 2012, and MDS in Oral Medicine and Radiology from Darshan Dental College and Hospital in 2016. He is currently working as reader in Department of Oral Medicine and Radiology at RR Dental College and Hospital, Udaipur. He has more than 38 publications in national and international indexed journals and has presented papers and posters at national level conferences. He has been editor-in-chief for International Journal of Drug and Dental Sciences. He has been member of editorial board of 8 research journals. He is a reviewer for our own academy journal, Oral Medicine and Radiology, and also JCDR journal. He has won best papers in national level conferences, and he has chaired various sessions in national symposiums organized by IMR. His special interests include CBCT, oromucosal lesions, oral cancer, and their management. Appreciate your acceptance, Dr. Tarun, and welcome you for the session. And the next one, chairperson is our own Dr. Srikanth. He is alumni of our JSS Dental College, and during his post-graduation, he has obtained 3rd rank in the RGHS University. He is actively involved in research ever since, and he has numerous national and international publications to his credit. With over 12 years of experience in academics, his research interests are orofacial pain, forensic odontology, and bioethics. He has delivered a number of guest lectures in the specialty of oral medicine and radiology. Happy to have you in the session and welcome you to the session. The next person is Dr. Shilpa PS. Dr. Shilpa PS graduated from Dental College, Bangalore in 2004, and also she did her post-graduation from Dayanand Sagar College of Dental Sciences, Bangalore in 2010. She is currently working as reader in the Department of Oral Medicine and Radiology at Vaidehi Dental College, Bangalore. She is a recognized PG guide under RGHS since 2018. She has more than 40 publications, national and international index journals, and has presented papers and posters at national level conferences. She is reviewer for reputed journals like IJDR and other journals. She has completed CBCT course from Manipal Institute of Dental Sciences, Mangalore. A special interest includes CBCT, oromucosal lesions, and their management. And a personal note, she is a good friend of mine, and I'm very happy to see you in the program, Shilpa. Thank you and welcome.
A very good morning to you all. It is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce the judges for our surgery session from the surgical fraternity. What is well identified is and confirmed by the medicine and the pathology department is well executed by a surgeon. Well executed task is a well completed task. With this, I would like to introduce the 3 eminent surgeons who have agreed to be our judges for the scientific sessions. The first of all is Dr. Dinesh Jawar. It is with welcome Dr. Dinesh Jawar. Dr. Dinesh graduated from Siddhartha Dental College and pursued on his post-graduation from A.B. Shetty Memorial Institute of Dental Sciences, Mangalore. He also went ahead to pursue his fellowship in cleft lip and palate surgeries at BMJ Hospital, Bangalore. Dr. Dinesh holds various positions in both the national and state bodies of AO MSI and IDA. He also has many publications in both the national and international journals with very good impact factor. He currently heads the Department of OMFS at SVS Institute of Dental Sciences, Telangana. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Dinesh from the JSS DCH family. Our next judge, I'm in fact very happy to introduce this person, Dr. Sejal. Dr. Sejal, welcome. Dr. Sejal completed her post-graduation from MS Ramaiah Dental College and Hospital, Bangalore. She has more than 10 years of teaching experience for both undergraduates and postgraduates. She served for a very brief period at JSS Dental College, Mysuru. Her area of interests have been maxillofacial trauma, maxillofacial pathologies and reconstructions, implantology. She's got many national and international publications and well-reputed journals to her credit. Dr. Sejal is currently working as an associate professor in MS Ramaiah Institute of Dental Sciences, Bangalore. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Sejal. Our next judge from the maxillofacial surgery fraternity is Dr. Rajinikanth. Dr. Rajinikanth did his post-graduation from A.B. Shetty Memorial Institute of Dental Sciences, Mangaluru. His areas of interest are maxillofacial trauma and its maxillofacial pathologies and its reconstruction, cleft lip and palate. He has many publications in his basket, both in national and international journals with very high impact factor. Currently, he is holding the position of an associate professor at MS Ramaiah College of Dental Sciences, Bangalore. He is also pursuing his PhD and working on developing a bioresorbable scaffold for bone regeneration. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Rajinikanth. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Vidya to introduce the oral package judges.
Good morning, all. I would like to introduce three eminent oral pathologists for today's symposium as a judge role. So it's an immense pleasure to introduce my batchmate in MDS and a senior in BDS, Dr. Sudhindra Prabhu, working as a professor of oral pathology and in charge head, Center for Forensic Odontology, Yenapoya Dental College, Bangalore. He did his BDS from Bapuji Dental College, Davangere, in 2001, MDS from SDM Dental College, Dharwad, 2006. He has done his FIAFO and also the Fellow in Forensic Odontology, SDM Dental College, Dharwad. He is a treasurer and EC member of Indian Association of Forensic Odontology. He is also a member of Board of Studies as well as the exam panel in various national and international institutions. He has more than 45 publications in the national and international journals. He is honored with the Good Teacher Award by Yenapoya deemed to be University and a Guidant National Award for the Academic Excellence. He has won 10 Best Paper and a Poster Awards for his research presentation and as a resource person and as well as a delivered numerous guest lectures in various national and international workshops and symposium. He is a member of editorial board as well as a review panel in the numerous international journals such as OOO, Oral Oncology, BJOMS, Archive of Oral Biology, JOMF, etc. So we welcome you, Dr. Sudhindra Prabhu, for accepting our invitation for this symposium as a judge.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya and Dr. Usha, madam. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Our next judge is Dr. Maya Ramesh. He is currently working as a professor and head, Department of Oral Pathology in Vinayak Mission, Shankaracharya Dental College, Salem. She finished her graduation from the GDC, Trivandrum, in the year of 1995 and MDS from the Vinayaka Mission, Shankaracharya Dental College in the year of 2009. And as well as PhD from the Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research in the year of 2020. She was admitted to a dental fellow in Royal College of Physician Surgeon, Glasgow in the year 2021. She is pursuing now the fellowship of Indian Board of Forensic Odontology. She has more than 50 international and national publications, journals. She has presented numerous papers and posters in various national and international conferences and also won many prizes. She has a part of organizing committee for various conferences and chairing the various sessions. She was a chief editor of a journal of IDA Salem and as well as a vice president of IDA Salem and Assistant Secretary of PFA Indian section, and is currently working as a Deputy Secretary of PFA Indian section. Thank you, Dr. Maya Ramesh, for this symposium, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you all. Thank you, team.
Yeah. Next is our alumni. Happy to introduce you as Dr. Shweta P, Professor in Oral Pathology Department, Vishnu Dental College, Bhimavaram, Andhra Pradesh. She did her BDS from our own college, JSS Dental College, Mysore, and MDS from the Rajaya Muttaya Dental College Hospital, Annamalai University, Tamil Nadu. She has a good skill in IHC, ELISA, and stereo microscopic other works. And she is very active in curricular and student counseling, other co-curricular like cultural activities also. She has got a first prize poster award in the National Conference of IAOMP. And she, in her credit, she has 24 publications in various journals. She delivered many guest lectures and become a resource person in many scientific programs. So thank you, Dr. Shweta, for accepting our invitation for this symposium as a judge.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. With this, we come to the end of this session of panel discussion, kindly requesting the participants and the judges to log in to their respective groups.
Good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to the concluding section of today's program. I hope all of you enjoyed and had a crucial learning and a great time in today's sessions. We hope this learning will be put into practice. We know currently all the hospitals, healthcare institutions, and specialties stress on the multidisciplinary approach, which is a new mode of operandi practiced for best patient care. I should say it is not a very new practice for us, with O team working together for the diagnostic workup and dissection always going hand in hand. All of us know each case is a new case, a new learning. Dark and white radiographic spot is a bright spot for clinician. Each cell and its expression is a pearl for pathologist, and each incision is a savior for surgeon. However, for patient, each doctor is a ray of hope. Hence, a comprehensive approach by each specialties would be a new life for each patient. So now let us hear from one of our experts what message she has for us to take home. Dr. Radhika Bavle. I'm very privileged to introduce Radhika ma'am. She is a professor and head of Department of Oral Pathology and Microbiology, Krishna Devaraya College of Dental Sciences, Bangalore. Ma'am has completed her BDS from Government Dental College and Hospital, Aurangabad, and MDS from Government Dental College and Hospital, Nagpur. She has a teaching experience of 26 years, has contributed to Orban's textbook, has published around 1 or 2 publications in various national and international journals, has completed over 42 projects, has done numerous paper presentation and has delivered keynote lectures. And she has won best paper presentation at National Conference of IAOMP. She held the post of honorary editor for JOMFP, was chairperson for InRoad for data collection on oral diseases launched by IAOMP in 2019. She is the executive committee member of IAOMP, PG and PhD guide for RGUHS Bangalore, recipient of VGST KFest grant, and also recipient of grant from RGUHS Bangalore. She is a recipient of the fellowship by the Fellowship of Associations of IAOMP Bangalore. Above all, she is a very down-to-earth person, always ready to share her knowledge. I can say ma'am is a live wire. So welcome you, ma'am, and over to you, ma'am, for your take-home message.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words. I hope I'm audible.
Ma'am, you're not audible, ma'am.
Ma'am, you're audible. I request
I'm audible, right? Because I'm unmuted
Yes,
myself.
you're audible, yeah.
Can I start with your kind permission?
Please start, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you so much to include me to be a part of this session, which was a breath of fresh air. It was really nice to see so many enthusiastic student participants and a lot of young judges who also participated in more of collective learning than actually judging people, which was really nice. But first and foremost, I would actually want to congratulate and I would want to thank the Vice Principal of JSS because he set the expectation right. He told that, much before the program started, he told that we should have protocols put in place if we have such programs. So it might be the end of the program, but I think it's the beginning and time to turn a new leaf, not only for JSS or one particular college, for every clinic, for every institution, to have an integrated approach actually. And you would see that this is true because in the first hour itself, Dr. Santosh put it in place. So it was nice to hear that until they send the clinical detail, they do not get the biopsy reports. So this is what integrated work, working and learning is all about. So actually, I want to say that presentation of case report on a OOO format is extremely important because it allows best patient care. Like doctor just told us now, that we can keep on discussing about, research and reviews and all, but this is ground reality. This is ground zero, where you get to diagnose, treat, and see the follow-up of patient. Finally, what you have learned in the class, textbook, got distinctions, all of it gets put to test only when you learn from your case reports. I think that's the gold mine which all of us should live in forever if we want to learn. And then setting a pace for this integrated approach is also a nice thing for all specialties, not only for OOO, but for the other subjects also. In this, I would want to remind the students and so many of the young colleagues that there was a word, which a lot of us have forgotten sometimes, which is called as allied branches. Only when you have such presentations, you realize that, you should know some part of oral medicine, you should know a good part of oral surgery also. So I can, as a pathologist, sit and tell, I want 1.5 centimeter biopsy for giving you a good report. But the moment you see the patient, you realize this is not an area where you can take 1.5 centimeter biopsy. It's a richly vascular area. It's a non-approachable area. To have a perspective of a OMED guy and an oral surgeon, for a pathologist and for a surgeon to have that prospect of other specialties is actually very important. So allied branches have to work in integration. They have to work in tandem. It's not a choice. It's actually the only way to work. So following common pathologies and setting up protocol is what we should do after such programs. So sometimes we realize that whether it's, common diseases, simple diseases or complex one, for example, OSMF. Every time I go to different colleges, different department, it is shocking to see that there are completely, different kind of approaches for a potentially malignant disorder, not for treatment, just for assessment and to get a diagnosis. So there are colleges who say we don't biopsy at all, colleges who say that we always biopsy. So what are the norms on which we are working? So such OOO guys should actually sit and make protocols, at least to start with for common pathologies and important, patient care in pathologies like oral submucous fibrosis, squamous cell carcinoma, OKCs and ameloblastomas where you end up with recurrences. So I think this should be the beginning of such approaches, which should be followed by one and all of us. Then the take-home message is very simple in this program. It was written all over the place, even when the students presented it. Integrated OOO working together for each patient. Like ma'am told, each patient is going to add a pixel of knowledge and pixel of understanding in your mind map. So norm of the day is to have an integrated approach. If you have it, respect it. If you respect it, please follow it. If you follow it, you will learn and flourish. Unfortunately, if you don't, you are walking on the path of extinction, which might be very difficult for yourself. So it also gives us a practical approach when your percentage attainable good results becomes better and better with integrated approach. So I would actually vouch for integrated learning, integrated working, as the patient absolutely deserves the best. Let's not forget, whether it's an oral pathologist, pedodontist, oral surgeon, we are not talking about who is more important and who is less important. We are talking of good patient care. So paramount to have a good integrated approach, because we owe the best to our patients. Let's not forget, we are good clinicians, whatever be our specialty. Thank you so much. I would want to thank Dr. Usha for this, opportunity to share a few of our thoughts and my thoughts. And I wish all of you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. As the quote goes, you need to be aware of what others are doing, applaud their efforts, acknowledge their successes, and encourage them in their pursuits. When we all help one another, everybody wins. So thank you very much, ma'am, for succinctly putting across all the relevant points. I would now allow you to accept the token of appreciation from us. Please do accept a certificate of appreciation, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. So now it is time to announce the winners of today's scientific sessions. So here I want to thank all the judges for their efforts and their inputs and their valuable time being put here for giving the judgment. So thank you all the judges. So now I request our Vice Principal, sir, Dr. Chandrasekhar, sir, to announce the winners. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before we start announcing the prizes, I congratulate all the participants who have presented their cases, and probably even when we have a match, there should be only one winner. But here in every session, you will have 3 winners. I request all of you to convert all these case presentations, what you have done, into meaningful publications so that it becomes publicly available for anybody to apply what you have innovated here. So in the back, I'll start announcing the prizes. In the Burkitt session, the first prize goes to Dr. Aparna and team from JSS Dental College and Hospital. Congratulations. Second prize goes to Dr. Anmol Leo and team, again from JSS Dental College and Hospital, Mysore. Third prize goes to Dr. Nivedita and team from VS Dental College and Hospital. In Laskin session, first prize goes to Dr. Niveda Sentilanathan from Vinayaka Missions Dental College and Hospital, Salem. Second prize goes to Dr. Shahid Raza and team from Faculty of Dentistry, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Third prize goes to Dr. Yashwant Raju KR and team from Ramaya University of Applied Sciences, Bangalore. Then in the Schaefer session, first prize goes to Dr. Sri Mallika and team from Vishnu Dental College. Second prize goes to Dr. Tej Kiran T. Shetty and team from AJ Shetty Institute of Dental Sciences. Third prize goes to Dr. Sri Lakshmi R. and team from Krishna Devaraya Dental College, Bangalore. Congratulations to all the winners. I thank the organizing team to give me this opportunity, for giving me this opportunity to announce the prize winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhar. Congratulations to all the participants. Truly appreciated. One's inner potential cannot develop without your willingness and conscious participation. Kudos to you all participants. Even though we say winning is not everything, it is definitely something. And all of us like to be winners. A huge round of applause to all the winners. Finally, a sincere and a humble message from our team. All of us believe and hope for an interdisciplinary approach. It looks good and rosy in programs like this. but each one of us know how Herculean a task it is. When I personally requested for presentations for this symposium, few colleagues expressed their inability as the scenario in their respective colleges among the concerned departments were not great. Such is the actual scenes at many institutions. We cannot change this overnight, but the upcoming youngsters are the future stakeholders. If you guys take a minute to reflect, realize, and inculcate today's learnings, not just in your practice, but also in life, we can hope to see stronger, more efficient workforce. Let go as well as hold on to your egos, guys. With these thoughts, I would like to sign off and say goodbye to all. Until next time. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you all from team O Symposium, JSS Dental College and Hospital. Thank you for participating, and I thank all the judges and the organizing team members, including the panelists. Thank you, everyone.